Hello, Lothar here. The subject of this video is money, the commercial aspects of the PCT, or at least the ones I experienced. Now, historically, the PCT has been very been lucky to have a great community of trail angels, volunteers who offer services to hikers free of charge or for a small donation, and that culture is still around, and it's fantastic, and it's building, and it's a real privilege when you get Trail Magic, and you just want to say thank you over and over again. So the other aspects are probably less nice, if you like. So let's work on the basis that most of the monetary exchanges you're going to be dealing with are with for-profit people or organisations, and that's the reality. Market economy, that's normal. So the ones I experienced, well, if I was hitching, now I might get a hitch from a trail angel, and they might just say, no worries, this is just great having a nice chat with you. They might have expectations of, well, you might cover the gas, or they might expect a donation, or you might meet someone who is maybe expecting all the way up to maybe just under or exceeding Uber rates. So they might be part-time taxi drivers or something like that. But so whenever you get into a car of any description, just be very clear up front, or ask them what their expectations are in a polite way. And most of the time, most people just say, "Oh, very clear, if you can cover the gas, that'd be great." Or they say, "No, don't worry, you'll get the full spectrum." But when it comes to the ones where you're actually paying effectively for a taxi service, they're normally upfront themselves very clearly, because they don't want to have a discussion at the end of the trip saying, "Oh, I was expecting $10 and they were expecting 40." So try and avoid that. I had no bad experiences with trail angels of any kind whatsoever. Everyone was very good. I had one mixed experience with a taxi driver who wanted to basically do the journey metered by the mile, and I refused because coming from London, you've kind of experienced that before, and if they're not even willing to fix a rate with something which is about 7 minutes down the road, then you kind of know that something's not right. So I turned them down on that one. But that was just one occasion on the whole trail. Hello, had to reset the camera because basically battery is running low. The next element is accommodation in town. So for example, if you're approaching a town, say you want to book time for a Zero or a Nero, you might go online, you use one of the big websites that travel websites that cover all the common hotels. So a lot of people might stay in a cheap motel. If you've got the budget, you can go to a higher level, but most of this are really cheap budget motels. And I would normally just book online. Now, some of the hotels, if you check on Guttux or far out of the app, may offer specific hiker rates if you ring them up. So one example I think is Cone Junction. There is other places hostels where they might offer lower rates or special hiker rates. So that's a great facility as well. Now, one thing I did encounter where I was hiking and there was a large number of hikers, what you can find is you can kind of compete for accommodation. But also you're hiking through some of the most beautiful areas in peak holiday season. So you're also competing with everybody else other than just PCT hikers for accommodation. So what I saw happening, or I know one small group were doing, and I don't condone it, but I can understand why, is that they were booking hotels, or cheap motels, and they might book 2 or 3 in a region at slightly different dates depending on where they think they might hit that particular location. So booking early, getting low rates. The downside is that as they approach, they realise all the dates are wrong, so they might then cancel 2 out of the 3, but they're blocking 3 hotel slots, if you like. Now, I'm sure lots of people do that. I personally don't, but I think it's a bit unfair to the other hikers. But I can fully understand why people do it. But anyway, that's the reality of it. So you may find, as you're approaching a town, or you really want to do a Zero there, and there's no hotels free. Don't be too worried, because as you approach, what you might find, if you pay attention to the sites, is that cancellations start occurring, and I will also start ringing up maybe the hotels directly to assuming you get a signal, to just ask them, look, if there's any cancellations, can you put me on the waiting list? So that's one way to do it. Hostels, I had great experience with hostels, very low cost, at various facilities like washing and things like that. In general, I had very good experience with hostels. I think there's one sort of add-on. I think I did find is the fact that they offered there's one washing machine in the hostel, and they said, I think it's $5 or $7 to use it but you had to sort of wait your turn. And they said that's probably the best we can do. And then if you looked on the map, you realised that there was a laundromat probably about 3 minutes that way by 5 foot, and it's actually cheaper and had 20 machines. But I appreciate they're trying to add services, so I fully understand. Right, when it comes to shopping stores and resupplies, you're going to see the full spectrum of availability. Some small stores which are well catered, maybe mixed catering for hikers who want to resupply, and you might have other stores that are very highly geared up towards expectations from hikers. Now, as you're approaching or planning your resupply, you're going to obviously look at lists of stores and locations. Now, because of COVID and because of the trail and has been not heavily trafficked for the last, I think, 2 years, in fairness, certainly not last year and the year before, then a lot of businesses may have changed or sadly gone out of business, or new ones might have popped up to serve this new season, which also means that a lot of the directories and the sort of stores and restaurants and things like that are listed on, say, like Far Out, Guthooks, may be out of date. So what I would ask is you're going up the trail, and if you're early in the trail, leave comments, update lists of what stores you were very happy with, or what, just leave your normal comments, but do it quite regularly, because so the lists can build up and get more accurate. Current lists I've seen I hike Southern California quite a lot, and over the years you see very directories or lists of businesses or area lists, and sometimes they can be very selective depending on who actually presents them or prepares them. So be careful where there's a commercial link to an information provider, because for example, they might say these businesses are in operation, but they might selectively leave out their competition, partly because they've got permission to list them on there, but it also means that you've then got to face the possibility that their competition then produces another area list somewhere in their own way, and they post it online, and it doesn't serve the community very well, the hiking community very well. You get mixed messages, so hopefully the hiking community, through the Guthooks and the comments like that, can actually clean it up a little bit, and be so hikers, as they're coming into towns and planning their resupplies, they get the complete accurate lists, and they're not those lists are not compromised by commercial decisions, which again, it's a tough market. People are trying to earn their living. Would I list my competitors if I was trying to promote my business? Probably not, but we're hikers, we don't care. We'll support businesses, but let's support them fairly, and hopefully we can get the best deals for the hikers, but also support businesses so they can survive and thrive for future years. I was just looking at this. Is there any other restaurants? Restaurants. For Europeans in particular, this tipping culture, it's normally, you've got to remember, in America, if you're going to a restaurant, tip as much as you can, really, because a lot of them are low paid workers or students, things like that, and a lot of their income comes from tips, so don't skimp on that if you can afford it. I think we've covered everything in terms of what you've bought before trail. You've obviously gone to all the good stores, looked at all the videos, and you've made your commitments. Now the next spending is on trail. So in terms of cash, what would I keep handy? I actually carried, probably too much, I actually kept in my wallet a float of about anywhere between $150 and $200. That was, the most I ever paid, I think, was about $60 for basically an Uber into a major town. Because sometimes credit cards from Europe, most of the time they're accepted. Occasionally you might have a problem at one particular site, but it's got better over the years, so I think you should be okay. But I still keep a cash flow, some low denomination bills, so you can give tips, so $5 tips and things like that. I think that's probably what I do. I think think other credit cards or phone. The other expenses you might have is if you're coming over and you're using SIM cards and things like that. Yes, you can get very good deals. And if you were to ask me which service I used AT&T. I think there's Verizon. There's other ones. In general, T-Mobile. Sorry. In general, I think T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T. Most users had very similar experiences where one had good coverage, the other one didn't. Overall, I personally was happy with AT&T, but there are others, as I said, T-Mobile, I think, and Verizon seem to be doing okay as well in those remote regions. Anyway, I will stop there. I'm sure I'll think of other things which I might tag on a list at the end of this. But you'll have a great experience. You'll meet some lovely people. You'll have some great food. You'll stay in some lovely hotels or resorts or hostels. And you'll have some fun rides from and meet some great trail angels and people who will just spontaneously just think, oh, there's a hiker, let's help them. You'll see a lot of that as well, and that's just absolutely, as I said, it's an amazing culture of the PCT, and I'm sure other trails in America that I hope it could be replicated elsewhere. Anyway, I'll speak to you soon, and have a great hike.